Are you an aspiring audio engineer or content creator, but you've only got enough money for 2 cups of coffee? In this video, I'm looking at the KZ EDC. Let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. So yes, this is the KZ EDC, and this is, believe it or not, a $9 IEM. Don't say I only bring you the expensive stuff. $9. It's pocket change for a lot of people. But KZ claims that this is a studio level monitor, so you could use this for content creation. It means it's tuned fairly close to neutral, which means that it's a fairly uncolored sound. So we're going to find out if the claims are true and whether or not you should get yourself one. First of all, let's have a look at the earphones. Now you might be thinking, come on Dave, show us the IEMs, we don't need to see the cable in there. Well, guess what? The cable is fixed, means it's non-detachable, you cannot remove it. And that's just part of how KZ has managed to keep the price so low. I mean, come on, $8, $8 or $9, you gotta be kidding me. But in terms of the cable, look, it's a little bit unruly, it's a little bit stiff, but it's strong, it's rigid, it's robust as hell. You're not gonna break it easily, so I mean, these are practically disposable at this price, so take it with that. Here's a look at the shells, and I mean, look at that, man. I've seen much more expensive IEMs that don't look that good and don't fit as well as these do. Very comfortable, great for long, hours-long sessions. Yeah, I think they look pretty classy, man. Resin shells. So how does the EDC sound? Well, guys, before we go any further, just keep your expectations reasonable. Like, you're not going to get the quality like you do from a pair of Beyerdynamic open back headphones or something like that. You know, people pay hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars for studio monitors. And just, you got to keep in mind $8, man, so don't get your expectations too high, and then, you know, you might be surprised at what you get. But in terms of sound, look, the EDC is fairly neutral. It is a little bit colored, specifically in the lower bass. It's got a bit of extra fullness, in the lower mid-range. It's got a bit of extra fullness in the lower mids, and a little bit of coloration in there. But you know, actually the sound signature of the KZ EDC is quite similar to, let me just reach over there, the Moondrop SSR. And if you don't know, SSR stands for Spaceship Reference, I think, if I remember correctly. But anyway, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Leaning towards neutral, but with some extra coloration, specifically in the lower mid-range. There is definitely an upper mid-range or lower treble peak, specifically at around 4 kilohertz. And at times that can get a little bit shouty, especially if there's things like electric guitars. It does get a little bit bright and shouty in your ears. But apart from that, you know, overall it's a pretty smooth listen. The quality of the bass actually really took me by surprise. I'm still surprised by it now. It is a pretty darn good bass. In terms of quantity, the bass is fairly neutral, but as I said, there's a little bit of extra fullness in the upper bass. There's a slight sub-bass roll-off, but man, it's a pretty speedy bass. It's nice and fast. It's tight. And it's loaded with texture. This bass has got some very nice texture indeed. Male vocals are fairly forward and full and articulate and clear. And then when you get to the female vocals, they actually sound a little bit more subdued and even slightly veiled. And I guess that's probably due to the large dip at around 6 kilohertz. It kind of attenuates or reduces, I should say, some of the clarity from the mid-range. So the clarity overall is fairly good, but for female vocals, they do sound a little bit dark and muted, and that's probably due to those dips in the treble. Now, if it weren't for those dips in the treble, this could potentially be a great, just ignore my phone there, this could potentially be a great sounding IEM, but I mean, for $8 it's still pretty good. If they could manage to even out that treble and perhaps reduce that 4 kilohertz peak just a bit, wow, man, I tell you what, this could be just something amazing. Who knows, maybe they'll do that in the future, but as it stands, the KZ EDC is still pretty darn good. You know, it sounds good. Don't go expecting a fantastic instrument separation and amazing soundstage and imaging and all those things. And the level of detail and resolution in the mid-range is really not that bad, considering you really could use these for some basic content creation, mixing music or mixing, you know, editing videos and things like that. You can really do that. And just, I'm lost for words. So we're just going to move right on to our one and only comparison. And you know what? I'm going to throw up the graph of the EDC versus the Moondrop SSR here, and you can see they are pretty darn close. There is a bit of extra fullness in the EDC's mid-range, particularly the lower mid-range, and the SSR has better treble extension. It has a more even treble as well, so the SSR doesn't have that same sort of veiled upper mid-range that the EDC suffers from. But the Moondrop SSR, I think it's about $40, so it's more, just over 4 times the price of the EDC, so keep that in mind. I'm just going to end the comparison there because, you know, $8, keeping it real. Guys, that is the KZ EDC. If you're on a super tight budget, give it a try, man. You're not gonna hate it. You're not gonna hate it. I wouldn't use it for a daily driver for listening to music as such, but you could. You know, it's really, actually, I have been listening to it for days, and I wasn't mad at it. It's quite reasonable. So anyway, that is the KZ EDC. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, Parfam audiophile style. If you're new to the channel and you want to see more reviews like this in the future, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And until next time, see you later.